Today we're going to do the law of cosines, and to do the law of cosines we need to understand that we can't use the law of sines because we don't have enough information. If I do 36 over b, I don't have that answer, and I don't have one of the angles, so I'm missing two of the four things. So we're using the law of cosines, and we're going to find this. We use it when we have what's called an included angle between two sides. So I'm going to find b, so I'm going to use this part of it. So b squared equals, and a squared is just 7, so 7 squared gets added to the c squared, which is 5, and that's going to be subtracted with by 2 times 7 times 5, and then cosine of b, because that's the only angle they give us, which is 36. Now all we do is press this into our calculator, and we will take the square root to get the answer. So this is 49 plus 25 minus 70 times cosine of 36. So by doing the math, we get b squared equals 17.36881. And when I take the square root of that, I get the answer rounded to the 10th as 4.2. And so now I have my answer. Now we can use that to find the other angles. So now I can use the law of sines. So if I go sine of 36 over 4.2 equals sine of a, because I don't know a, over 7, then all I have to do is multiply the sine of 36 over 4.2 by 7, because I get rid of the 7, and I'm going to take the sine of -1, and all that will equal our a. So after pressing this into your calculator, a equals 78 degrees. So this is 78, and then if we add 78, add it to 36, and subtract that from 180, we get 66. So now we know all three sides and all three angles. Okay, for this problem, the first thing you need to do is you need to draw your triangle. So I'm going to go F, G, H, and this is 4, and G is 82, and F is 6. So once again, we have two sides and the including angle. So we're going to use the law of cosines. So the law of cosines, what we're going to try to find is g. So it's going to be g squared equals the first side squared plus the second side squared minus 2 times both of those numbers times the cosine of 82, the only thing that we're given. So now when we go through the math of this, g squared equals 36 plus 16 minus 48 times the cosine of 82. And so we get g squared equals 45.319691, and we take the square root of that, and we get g equals 6.7 rounded to the 10th. So now we know what g is. So now we're going to do the law of sines. So sine of 82 over 6.7 equals, I'll go sine of f over 6. And so what we're going to do is we're going to multiply sine over 6.7, and we're going to do the inverse function, and that gives us what f. So doing that in our calculator, we get 62 for f. So now I know this is 62. I can add 62. So I add 62 to 82 and subtract that. I'll get 36 for this angle. So I have all three angles and all three sides. Okay, now we're going to do a triangle where they only give you is the sides. They don't give you any angles. So what we have to be careful of is whatever we're going to make it equal to will be the cosine we use. So I'm going to use this one and this one. So that means I'm going to go 16 squared equals 9 squared plus 10 squared minus 2 times 9 times 10, and I'm going to do the cosine of A. So this and this have to match up. Now I'm going to go through the math of this. So we get 256 equals 81 plus 100 minus 180 cosine of A. So now I'm going to get this by itself, so I'm going to undo, so I'm going to subtract this 181, which gives me 75 equals negative 180 cosine of A. So I'm going to divide by negative 180, and I'm trying to find an angle, so I'm going to do the cosine of negative 1, 75 divided by negative 180 equals A. If I press it in the calculator, I get 115 rounded to the nearest degree. So now I know this angle is 115. So now we can use the law of sines if we want to. So the law of sines would say, if I say sine of 115 over 16 equals a sine of, let's say, B over 9. And now all I have to do is multiply this by 9 and take the inverse to get B. So I press that in my calculator. So by doing all the math of this problem, I get 30 as my B. And so once I know this is 30, and I add that to 115, I get my final C being 35. So I found all three sides, all three angles. To start off for this problem, as always, when it's not there, I would draw my triangle, and I'm going to go A, B, C, and fill in the blanks. Across from A is 5, across from B is 11, and across from C is 8. So it's all three sides, no angles. So I'm going to use the law of cosines. So I'm going to take 5 squared, I'm going to do A, equals 8 squared plus 11 squared minus 2 times 8 times 11 cosine of A. So now we do our math. 25, 64, 121 minus is 176 cosine of A. And continuing with the math, by putting these together and subtracting it, I end up with a 160 on this side equals a negative 176 cosine of A. I'm going to divide by negative 176, and I'm going to do the inverse function of that, and I get the answer to A as 25 degrees. So there's my measure. Remember, the two negatives cancel and make a positive on that. So now I can go up here and use the law of sines. So I know A now is sine of 25 over 5 equals the sine of B over 11. And to find this answer, I'm going to end up with the sine negative of 11 times sine of 25 over 5 equals B. So now we just press that in our calculator. We get 73 is our B measurement. So now that I know this is 73, A is 25, this is 73, I can add those two together and subtract to get our answer of 82. So C equals 82. So now I found all three angles. Here is just a summary. You're using the law of sines when you have two angles in any sides, or two sides in any angle. But if you include the included angle, you use the cosines, and if you only have sides, you use cosines.